Hi guys, we are live for the twin flame update. Now, here's hoping Mercury Retrograde isn't going to play silly buggers with us, as some people's videos have been doing such. Look at the hair. Winning. Okay, I'll wait for people to connect, and I'm hoping the table's not bouncing. Welcome to those of you who are new. Those of you who don't know, I'm a psychic medium. I do have two channels. The other channel is changing. I'm rescheduling everything. I did put a notification up in the community tab. Hi. And, you know, it's quite relevant to Mercury as well. And probably you Librans will actually find you going through this. But collectively speaking, a lot of us are experiencing very interesting energy during this Mercury retrograde. And it's how do I put it? It is a very interesting energy. It's like no other Mercury retrograde we've had before. It's not just down to the aspects of communication. And again, when I did do the live videos, which if you haven't seen, go through and actually look at your zodiac sign. I am going to attempt to come to you live to do the twin flames by mid-month. Now, that's because everything's changing, which again is very relevant, directly connected to Mercury retrograde. So I'm going to be doing the updates live for the zodiac signs mid-month. I'm also going to be attempting to do the twin flame mid-month live as well. Now, I'm trying to open up the hours. So obviously for America, there is more scheduling available for you guys. So there's AM and PM. So potentially if you're needing a booking and it needs to be at a particular time and it's not available there, inbox me and I can actually schedule you in. But I do know that some of you wish to have AM bookings, your 9 AM time. So I am trying to accommodate that, but I've also changed it so that I can have recording days to get the videos done in a timely fashion. Now, the channel currently is under review and hopefully Super Chat can be connected. But regardless, I am hosting a session on Facebook, and that is for a similar situation. But quick snippet readings, especially for those of you that are on a budget. The tickets are directly available through the actual website at the moment, but I am updating the website. Now, a lot of the energy that is coming through for us collectively, as well as twin flames, is the feminines are going through a mass transformation at the moment. Also, what I am seeing is that a lot of us are looking at things from a very different perspective. So we're actually fine-tuning things. The trigger points are phenomenal. The frustration levels are phenomenal. Again, if you aren't doing anything particular and you are in hermit mode, again, it does depend on where you are in your journey. You know, you could be very grounded and finding absolutely, you know, it's not affecting you. And again, it does in your own birth chart correlate with where that placement is with the Mercury placement. Again, other planets can directly impact that, especially with the Mars placement. You know, really have a look at the Mars placement in your chart, and especially Chiron. With the frequency of Chiron moving into Aries, we're going to be more direct in a sense of moving forward. But it doesn't have to be it's directly about you and that you're at a lower frequency. And we're never going to attain perfectness. And this is something that the Twin Flame Collective need to understand. And I heard this wonderful reading, and if I can find it, I will put the link in. But regardless, you know, we can gain perspective from other people. And in listening to it, it was very truthful in what it says. And especially as one myself and someone who has been working on my spiritual gift for years, it's almost like we micromanage ourselves to the point of needing to be perfect, and it's unattainable. It's not that when you reach reunion, union, you're perfect, but it's really that you've come to a self-realization that you know that the runner dynamic in the connection is directly you running as well. And it can simply be that you're looking at the situation from an external perspective and you're looking at it and you're going, hey, how can this in the 3D actually work? And you know, when both parties have those blockages, it does actually get to a point where you break away. You do come to a realization if you do actually look at it, and there's really not enough information on the path. So the other channel that I've created, what I am going to do is a lot of blogging. I'm going to write down things that are coming to me, especially from things that I've directly experienced. And I'm going to incorporate that into the other channel so that it's go-to channel. So it's covering the numerology. It's covering aspects of animal totems and synchronicities, things that I've directly experienced through my journey. So you can always go back to that and use the mirror and different tools that are going to help you through your path. 2019 is very beneficial for reconnections. Mercury retrograde as well, but you need to be careful for the smoke and mirrors. The journey with the TF is very different to a collective energy. So the things, so to speak, we do look at it too 3D, where it's like, oh my God, Mercury retrograde, only lower frequency people are going to come towards us. Hi. It's so not true. If there's a blockage, it's directly connected to us. So if we're feeling the energy of blockages coming, it's directly because we have a blockage and we've manifested that frequency and it's something for us to purge. Yes, 100%. And even now, I mean, this Mercury retrograde for us has been very interesting. Yes, we are in connection. And the things that we're working through is very interesting. Obviously, having had the nodes in Cancer and Capricorn has been to do with family and, how would you say it, family and work. And a lot of us are trying to juggle that. And it's about the balance. And, you know, psychically speaking, I was seeing this transitional phase moving into April was all about getting that foundation right and all about getting to the point where, you know, on our side of the fence, what can we physically do? And as our life changes, you know, I've been seeing a lot of animal totems in the last week. Morning, Dale. And it's about getting to a place where the signs that you're directly seeing will correlate with your life and where you're at. So, you know, when you're really in the thick of it and you're having a blockage, it doesn't have to be that it's connected just to your TF. It can be to help you purge that situation. And synchronistically speaking, your TF will purge at the same time. So a lot of times when you're in a connection and you know ultimately it's not for your high good, you've reached that point that something needs to transition over, but you're holding on to it because it's a paradigm of what your belief system is. It can be anything to the degree of you feeling it's not appropriate. A lot of conditioning comes up in the TF journey. And coming to that place where no matter where you are in it, you must come back to self. Another thing that's come up really relevant is for the feminines. A lot of you guys are changing at the moment. And, you know, you're looking back over your journey and you're outgrowing and outlearning. Not outlearning, what would the word be? You've reached a point where your old way of doing things doesn't trigger you anymore. Okay, so it may have been that if you communicated in a particular fashion, there was a consequence. The consequence was because it was your direct belief system. So by purging it and releasing it, knowing, you know, your consciousness and your enlightened state tells you when you're at a lower frequency, and that will be forever. It won't come to a place where you will be, you know, totally calm and nothing ever triggers you. You're human, so you're going to have a humanistic experience. But to come to that place where you can understand the trigger point and then go, okay, I'm knowing I'm in it. Yes, that's a me problem. And communicating it. And a lot of the feminines in the early stages, you'll find you even had the blockage, because to take that wall down and show that vulnerability, and it's not at a lower frequency, it's at the high frequency of your femininity, being vulnerable, maybe even getting triggered and pouring harder and getting to a place where you're saying, hey, this is where it makes me feel. Yes, I'm an enlightened being and I understand the bigger picture of situations, but, you know, this is what's happening with me right now. And really jumping in, you know, a lot of times you think because you're looking at the 3D notion of it, where it stands, it's unmovable, unshiftable, and the trigger comes to a point where you do release it. So with it, what I can say is I'm seeing the feminines changing, and especially over the weekend, a lot of what had been happening is very intense frequency, external frustrations. And again, it does depend on where you are in your path. When you're reaching a closer point, you will actually feel the energy directly behind you. So if you're feeling this energy of a presence and an energy behind you. It is meaning that communication, contact, potential reunion, union is coming. You will also get to a place where you very much do release. And you release your expectations about things because it's completely exhausting. Yeah, it's almost like a battle with your ego at times where you just really do get to the thick of it. And you're thinking back on the journey and the hurt, and then you're like, oh, that's exhausting. Okay, I've done the work on that. Then you're looking at maybe what you're hoping it will look like. Then you realize, well, you don't have control over that. And it's just a release, release, release. And knowing that really the key to the situation is you can't be happy with anyone unless you can be happy with yourself. Feminines can become quite triggered at this point. So if you are in communication with your TF and, you know, it's not flowing accordingly, you've got to understand at the moment that all of us are very much wanting to get to that end picture, wanting to get that balance in, and it's very hard to gain that balance. But the benefit of this Mercury retrograde is it's really showing us both internally and externally what's not working and what can change, what power we have to directly change that, and how we can apply that to start physically moving forward. Don't ever feel you're leaving the TF situation behind. And when I say that, a lot of fear-based frequency comes up, especially when we look at astrology. You know, we listen to readers, and you tend to box it into a situation where it's unmanifestable. The thing is, hi Sally, the thing is what we need to understand is we are manifestors. We're natural manifestors, but at our lower frequency, it becomes very difficult. And we tend to then, when we're in the thick of the energy of blockages, we get in the dense energy and we're like, it's unattainable, it's impossible, it's 3D, because that's when you're in the 3D really heavily. You need to then come back to self and then say, okay, detach from this, try and get yourself grounded, then get to a place you can physically start moving forward. Don't connect the dots to a traditional relationship. And the reason I say that, it's almost like I've got to make a whole video on that. What you'll find is if you directly are a TF, it is divinely guided where the communication will come in. So you getting up in your head about it unnecessarily so is absolutely a waste of time. You're actually pushing the pause button by doing that. You very much need to understand you have more power than you think. And by doing the work, doing the purging, understanding the blocks, and really coming back. And when we're in the thick of it, we don't, because we're really looking at it and we're going, you've done this, you've done that, you need to change this, you need to change that. When you can ultimately come to a place where you realize you as well have the same fear-based frequencies, even with the trigger points in situations, and I'll answer questions directly after, you know, at the end of the video. So I'll pull some cards as well because I want to tune into the energy separately from my downloads, and then I will answer a few questions before I go. A traditional relationship has its time zone. And naturally speaking, you know, because we do experience the in and out in it, what you do find is you correlate it with a traditional relationship. It's not, because it's destined to trigger you, to grow you, to get you to that point. So you'll find at times when you're needing to heal, naturally, you will end up in a different connection to help you actually recover. But 9 times out of 10, it's because you're not trusting in the process and you're reverting back to a traditional paradigm. So you're actually reverting back to a safe place, and that's really what the masculine does as well. So when that happens and we're like, oh gosh, we're exhausted, we need to retreat back, we need a traditional connection that's I would say controllable, where you know what to expect, and it's calmer. I would say it's calmer. To a point, once you've healed, you're pushed out of that connection. And that's because your destiny is to purge and learn. And it's not to say, how do I put it? I only found out 3 years ago, so I can very much, from a psychic point of view, as well as a TF point of view, backdate and look at my journey and realize why certain things happened, which was great because I didn't have the ego and the tag directly connected to it. You know, really getting so in the thick of, do they know I am a TF? It doesn't matter. It's a spiritual connection. Part of it is there for your growth. It is to teach you about unconditional love. The third wave is directly connected to breaking down the paradigms that were the traditional basis of relationships. So if we can understand that, a lot of what will come towards us energetically is to break that down. And it sounds wretched, but it's what necessarily has to happen to push all of that paradigm away to help us move forward. And we energetically chose this path to actually do that. So believe me when I say nothing that you get will be a waste. Nothing that happens will be without a positive outcome. Even if you're having the most lower frequency situations happen and you think they're unshiftable, they directly are, but the work all comes back down to you. So, you know, in the early stages when I would explain the dynamic, a lot of people will be saying, yes, but they need to. And what you need to understand is it's very hard to explain when you're triggered. Both of you are the same, but operating on different kind of mindsets, right? But you're exactly the same, your TFs. When you're having a block, they have a block. As soon as you do the work, it ignites them to do the work. So when I'm saying you have power in it, by staying in the thick of it, it prevents movement. So the importance of doing the work, don't get into the ego frequency, fear-based frequency, pain body experience of thinking if you're doing it, nothing's happening. It's not true. It does shift, but it does take both to do the work on their own side of the fence, which does trigger both to move. Does that make sense? I am seeing with the feminines, though, really interesting, funky frequency. It has been a while, Rocky. Now, I'm seeing energies of you feeling vibrationally because you've done the work and you're in an enlightened state, and this is probably the third wave, that it's inappropriate to speak in a particular manner. There may come a point where you feel that you're utilizing techniques to keep yourself grounded. You're also getting to that point where and this has been coming up a lot in the readings, the private consults and the readings, is that even if we see the bigger picture and we know that if we operate in a particular frequency that you can't control, okay? So it can be to a point where a lot of empaths are tested to the point at the moment that you're believed to be an enlightened one that doesn't have a breaking point. It's not that you're going to be operating from a lower frequency. It's that if, in fact, both parties are there to directly help enlighten each other and move each other to the next level, anything that directly happens is there to assist that. So if you are seeing toxicity around you, and it can be from a lot of different sources, it can be from employment, it can be from TF, it can be from karmic energies, these things, you're assessing them, but you're seeing the situation, it can be triggering you, but you're attempting to dance around it in an assessment state, but the throat chakra is coming through. And all the cards that were coming through in the zodiac signs in throat chakra level were all upright, which is really interesting considering we're Mercury retrograde. So I do feel this is a time that, regardless of the fact that it's Mercury retrograde, if we are in our enlightened state, it can be that actually we are discussing things connected to the past, but at a higher frequency. But attempting to bring that balance in is going to be super tricky. So you really need to assess when you're communicating with individuals that you understand and that you can, in fact, during that storm, communicate effectively and grasp that they've attained that information and absorbed it in a correct level. Now, those of you who still have those blocks and you're dealing with them and you're kind of triggering each other, it's natural as part of it. But at the same time, a lot of times what you will experience is you'll say something and your counterpart will need 1 to 2 weeks to absorb that regardless of what's said, it needs to be in the masculine's frequency for them to choose what's correct. both of you do tend to come to the table in masculine frequency. And sometimes the block point is that they feel, due to past tense frequencies, that you're going to be the same, you know, potentially as the karmics, potentially of other environments that perhaps were toxic. So the only way you can do that is to allow them to actually establish that themselves, but to continue to be in your high vibration and be in your truth. So for me personally, what I learned was, because I could see how other people were towards them, I then would then change my method of directly communicating as an empath, which was probably the wrong thing to do, because you can't make another person's life better, but you can always be in your truth. And that really did delay a lot of movement in my life. So, you know, don't feel guilty if you have a truth. Don't feel guilty if, in fact, you say, hey, look, what I am looking for is a commitment. It's a lot of times the things that are said, it's a test, it's a question, because you're both afraid to actually take that leap of faith. So a lot of times the mixed signals and the lower frequency comes from both parties not being in their truth. Also, a lot of you are going to be experiencing paranormal activity, and those of you who are more enlightened. So if you are experiencing that now, it can be that the guides on both sides are directly coming to you. And that can be to either counterpart, and collective energy as well, you know, very separate. Definitely because of the Neptune energy, you do find that the spirit world is very active. A lot of times, if you've got a family member that's passed over, or a loved one that you're really wanting to connect in with, what you do find is it tends to come around anniversaries, birthdays, important moments where, you know, they're in your third eye and they directly come through in a channel. Lots of what you know in your mind of what they would have said is directly them communicating with you. It's just their method to communicate with you. And the more you advance yourself energetically, in a spiritual way, to being open to that frequency, the more your gift will directly change, where you can fine tune it and they'll start sending you external kind of affirmations to tell you that they're there with you. And it'll be small, silly things that they feel that would register with you to remind you of them. So it could be anything to the degree, I mean, of an animal coming towards you that reminded you of your parent, or a smell, and definitely aromas can come through to you, and you can say, hey, that's really interesting, that reminds me of such and such. So the energy of that is very heavy at the moment. Yeah, it is. And it's especially with Mercury retrograde. I mean, we have technology related things and morphing. I did have a client the other day which was explaining something, and I do feel it's worth mentioning. I won't obviously mention the client, but I will explain something. If you're having any aspect of paranormal activity in your house, and this can be passed over loved ones or energies coming, what you need to understand is the room will go cold. If the room is not cold, it's different, okay? And it can be two things. And, you know, obviously I'll keep this person very private. And I found it to be very interesting because when I was channeling, the person said they felt very hot while this session was on, and, you know, while the visitation was there. 9 times out of 10, you find when the spirit world comes in, the room is cold. And it does feel and look blue. So it can be quite white blue. It can also be where it literally feels like a pause button's being pushed. You can see, you know, frost coming out of your mouth, and potentially you can't move. Okay, so it's a bit like, I've forgotten what the name is, how they define it. You can even be alive and directly connect in with a person who's in your waking life. So the interesting thing that came through in this session was that a mother figure of a TF had directly come into the house to visit the feminine. But on this occasion, This person was very warm, but at the same time, potentially, it doesn't have to be a loved one who's passed over. If energetically they're thinking of you, they can have an out-of-body experience and come towards you. So it doesn't have to be a deceased person. You can actually directly move your vessel to another location, both in the 3D and through the third eye into the 5D. So it can go both ways. Yeah, it can be ways in which they do communicate, Chris. It may be. What were you thinking about around the time, Chris? Well, look, black crows, they do correlate it with loved ones passed over and death. But I never connect it to that. It's usually that you're more gifted than you think. And the reason they're coming to you is to open up your third eye, for you to actually problem solve, to understand what they're trying to tell you. So you've got to think back to how you were feeling during that time when these activities were going on, because it might be, in fact, that you both had unfinished business and that potentially you were thinking about something in a particular way and they're trying to communicate with you, but you know their language and you know their style. So you've got to put two and two together between what they're trying to tell you. But the crows can actually mean that you're psychic and you're intuitive and you can see both worlds. Then she's being cheeky. Did she have a very comical energy when it comes to it? Yeah, they have been around, but and again, the black crows have been present quite regularly, especially in March. What you will find is, yeah, well, there you go. So she's trying to make a comical joke with you, correlating with that. And then you've got a link into the air conditioner. Yeah, it's like a funny energy. So it's quirky ways they directly communicate with you. With the crows, what you'll find is, yes, the dead is around at the moment. But in astrology, this whole weekend having passed, some of you are already still in it. You're at the Sunday. What you will find is it's hit the 0 degree mark and we're moving forward. And it's the first time in a very, very, very long time. So it's the end of a cycle. Hi, back. It's the end of a cycle. So the fair-based frequencies are potentially, what is life going to look like? Where are we going from here? Are we able to move forward? What's it going to look like? Can we detach from that? All of those things that are coming up right now is we have this intuitive sense. So it's the death of the old. And really, even with my clients that I talk to, I said that this Mercury retrograde felt like a funeral. But it was like bittersweet, because it's the end of a chapter, end of an era. It's a 10-year cycle, so to speak, or it's from 2010. We're ending a chapter from that point, and that could be what we were doing, what our mindset was, how far we've grown, all of those direct situations. To draw them, it can be that you're channeling, Sally. So, look into it. Think about what you're thinking at the time. And then when you are looking at it and see, some psychics will, for me, it's always been, at the beginning point, it was through cups. Then it transitioned over. And then it's just, I would sit with a person, we would directly start communicating. And then once we'd lulled into that frequency, it would turn on and I'd start and I go, okay. And they'd say, oh, have we started? Yes, we have. Okay, I'm in. And it can be even asking that person to directly ask you a question. And so it's a permission based, and that's really how my frequency operates, is that, as a permission base, I ask to enter. You're entrusting me with my gift to actually enter. And once that permission base has come through, I can then channel. So those are the readings really that do flow very effectively, and it always gives you the most essential information. Yes, you can ask questions and then you can bridge from there and you can keep going. But, then it moved and it was people would leave cups on my door, or they would randomly come up to me and ask me a question. Then obviously when I started doing the readings on Facebook, which is initially where it started getting a bit bigger, I was giving free readings away via Facebook, and I had up to 5,000 to 10,000 subscribers. I was doing 50 readings a day directly after work, and it just became too hectic. And I had to do one reading one day, and it was too much. And I ended up doing a video, and the rest is history. It was YouTube. But tuning into a zodiac took a while. But again, it just, you keep building and you keep getting to a point where you can fine tune your gift. And each of you as of TFs do have that. You know, your empaths, you have that vibrational connection. You have that ability to channel. So think about what you're thinking at the time, number one. Have a look at what the symbolism of that animal means at the time. And it can be giving you a channeling as to what's going on around you. Okay? Yes, the name of TF has been coming up phenomenally. I've actually showed my TF and he laughs. He thinks it's hilarious, and it's both his first name and his surname. I'm like, see how I'm bombarded? It's just not fair. It's ridiculous. Because, you know, even energetically, when you think, oh, screw this, I'm moving forward, you're bombarded. And it's you know, as Source says, it's like you want to get a restraining order against numerology. It's like, goodness me, what are you trying to say? With the numerology, when you are bombarded with it, 9 times out of 10, it's because you need to understand something not directly connected to TF, but very much connected to you. So you do have to do both sides, where you don't just condition it down to that box. Yeah. And look, you may pick up for that moment what it means, but it's almost like a sentence universe forms. So in one breath, it might be you see a crow, but you're thinking about transitioning out of a job. Or you're starting something new. It can be a reset button. The end of one thing, the starting of a new. So again, it is all to do with how you work with things and what messages come to you. I mean, sometimes I'm doing readings, the card isn't there, and I'm thinking it, and then I pull the cards and it's there. And it's like, other times I'm seeing a card and I'll mention it. Hi, Dawn. Yeah, a lot of 222s, 111s coming up. 666 keeps coming up. But each of you will have very separately as well numbers that will come up. There will also be a point where you're very in the 3D right now and looking at, okay, what do I need to do right now? There is a higher likelihood of communication during Mercury retrograde. I do feel huge movement forward in April. I do believe we do have retrograde then as well. And I do know that we will be moving into another eclipse point. But you need to fine-tune things at the moment. So anything you need to fine-tune, perfect time to get rid of things. Perfect time to sell things of what you don't need. Declutter. Part of the TF journey is to get simple, okay? What do you need? What don't you need? Too connected to the 3D, too connected to our assets, you know, changing diet. I mean, all of these videos that I'm going to be doing potentially, you know, universe hoping, are going to be on the Twin Flame Alchemist to Union page, and that's going to be the go-to reference. I'm going to try and do both traditional zodiac signs, general, and twin flame, but I need to get, I'm changing my schedule so I've got time to do those bookings, as well as the videos for the TF journey. So they're all going to be on here. They are coming. Bear with me. I haven't forgotten. But I don't like to put anything up that isn't quality. So, in fact, sometimes I need a warm-up when I am doing my readings. And if I feel guided to, I will delete them if they don't, if I'm feeling not connected with them. Because sometimes there's a whole lot more information that comes through. So, you know, I could chuck something together, but I'm not willing to do that. So I prefer quality. Let's see what's going on with you guys. Okay, at the moment, What is working for us collectively? You can't make this shit up. Okay. You need to be direct. You need to be extremely direct in your TF journey. A lot of us have been thinking, gee, Mercury retrograde, be careful what you say. Yeah, no. Be truthful. The reality is, and this is what we don't tend to think, we're like, similar to the early stages of the TF journey. If I say something, there will be this outcome or there will be that outcome. True. But as you get to that enlightened state, you realize that you can't control the world. But if you don't connect in with what is correct for you, regardless of having compassion and understanding, which we always do, if you're coming from an enlightened state and you're directly being like, look, if you're not doing rights for you, regardless of whatever's going on, then you can only do that for so long. So you need to be honest with yourself. If you communicate in a strict fashion, it's about communication. The clarifying card's communication, conversations. It can be that you're networking with feminine energies to understand your energy. It also can be that you're ready to say what you need to say. And it can be, hey, let's cut to the chase. Let's get this show on the road. It can be, why did X, Y, and Z happen? It can be, I don't like it when X, Y, and Z happens. But, hey, I know what I need to do. And I know that's a me problem, not a you problem. So I grasp it and understand it. So your communication is really, and I'm not feeling key. I'm feeling as long as you're in your enlightened state, if something's coming up, it's divinely guided. Trust in the process. What isn't working is you getting up in your head too much because you're micromanaging your communication, okay? If you're going to communicate, you communicate. You're a conscious being. You can handle it. It won't break. It triggers. It doesn't break. Okay, what abundantly will be working in this and the reason why things are happening, don't think that because a delay is happening that it's over. Again, it's correlating with the next moon phase, which I think is the Libra moon. And I feel movement is going to be happening around that time. It will be lighter in frequency. And again, I'm being drawn to the mirror. And there is an hourglass in it, but it feels to me more like a scale. So the reflection of the situation will be happening on both sides of the fence. Okay? So it may be that you need to pause. It might be that you need to assess. It may be that you're willing to wait, that it's a lesson. There's lessons in every situation. But don't look at it as saying, hey, because I'm waiting, because no movement's happened, that it's never happening. That's not. Nothing ever stays the same forever. What isn't working in you looking at it from an abundant point of view is to push. You don't have to push, but you can communicate effectively. Hey, this is my truth. I would like X, Y, and Z. I'm sorry, I don't want that. And that can be the DM or the feminine. It doesn't matter. If you're not being truthful, that person then can't then sit back 1 to 2 weeks later and go, well, wow, they know who they are. They know what they want out of life. Well, shit. I'm going to have to do something about that. Give them an opportunity to actually say, wow, this person loves and respects themselves. This person knows what they want out of life. They're being honest with me, even though they could be lower frequency and be saying different things. Yes.
Do you have any chocolate?
This one. You're not allowed to be on YouTube. You're on mine.
Do you reckon that I need to get checked out because apparently...
On YouTube.
I know, because my hand keeps going dead. Like, I'll be playing on my phone or something and then I'll get pins and needles for no reason. I could die. Can you give me chocolate?
Yeah, so does Olsen. Paging Olsen. Okay. Teenagers. Around. Okay. What isn't working is obviously getting to a point you're pushy. She is adorable, but I'm telling you, we all have been trying to find the balance at the moment. It's been absolutely hilarious. Okay. If you're pushy, you know, you're going to put yourself, how do I put it? You're not being kind to yourself, because it's fair-based frequency of saying, and look, you can be assertive and say, hey, this is what I want, right? This is what I want. I would like some balance, or I would like X, Y, and Z. But don't put yourself in the friend box and get triggered. Oh, the reason why they're not giving me what I want or doing what I want is because they're putting me in the friend box. It's not that. Be your own best friend. Be your own high vibration. Get to a point where you can say, I know what I want. Okay, what won't work is being pushy or inconsistent. So it can be, I really want to get married, but then you're like, but they don't want to get married, so I can't say that. You know, if they don't want to, that's their truth. But you can have your truth. And reality speaks. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you can be in your truth. And that's being authentic and caring and respectful to yourself, right? Be the best version of yourself you can be. Doesn't mean to say if you get triggered that you're the worst version. Doesn't mean to say you're an imperfect being. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to be. We can't be. So don't micromanage yourself. Okay, with anyone that has a TF that has children, you know, karmics, anything to that degree, what is happening right now is there is planning going on. Okay, so it's in the planning stage of movement, of change. It can be if the separation has occurred, it's the negotiation, it's the balancing out, especially with the nodes having been in Cancer, moving into the Gemini cycle. It's to the point where balance is needed. So there's caution and movement forward. And it's not, you know, they're looking at what makes them happy, regardless of the direct connections. You know, it can be with kin, can be with children, can be with karmic. It's like they know what they want. That's what's working. So regardless of whatever is going on, don't get triggered by it, because they already now know what they do want. What isn't working is the pausing. They know they're running out of time. They know that they can't stay like that, because, you know, once you've reached the epiphany moment, it's like the enlightened state, and you're going, Houston, we have a problem. You can't live there forever. Stop panicking. Nobody can. We're reaching a point in astrology where we're moving forward. It is different to last year. Many of us are getting scared. Oh, is it the same as last year? No, it's not. It's not. It's fast-paced movement. It's get our crap together. Move forward. If you're sitting there and you're hoping for your knight in shining armor to come waltzing up and save you when you're in financial debt, do you have power that you can do something right now? And it's not that at one point you both can't or won't have that in your life to help, where you can both be actually working together. It's what do you need to deal with in the 3D right now? And that's the best way you can literally get grounded. Oxygen therapy, get outside. If you are so triggered, walk outside, get some fresh air, go and do something separately. If you have not been intimate for a while, exercise. You're going to get aggressive. You're going to get stressed. You're going to look at the world falling down, penny little. You need to alleviate and alchemize that frequency to a point you can place that energy positively into something to balance you, especially during this Mercury retrograde. It's so freaking heavy. What isn't working, like I said, is the stagnation. It's like it can't stay like that forever. Nothing ever stays the same forever. Yeah, it's not working. So it won't, they know it won't work. They know the pause cannot work because things are moving. They will lose that ship, and it's not losing it permanently. But the mindset is the reality of, hey, if I've had this epiphany and I know what I want, I better bloody do something about it. Again, with the past, they don't want to work on it. They don't. This is merchant in reverse. It's not working. It's not working. Some of them are having issues with family. Even if they directly have separated, there are issues connected to karmic energies, family, and trying to find the balance in that energy. It is just purely not working. And the stagnation's there. They don't want to work on it. 2 working cards in reverse. 2 no's. 2, no, it's not working. Even what is working for the TF journey is that the realization of what is and what isn't working. We're having epiphanies, even for those of you directly connected. You know what is and what isn't working. And you're making plans. And if you're not, start making plans. What can you physically do to start moving that forward? Okay? Now, other people's frequencies. What's going on with that? I tell you, I did a reading on my twin today, and I did a reading for the Liberans, because I'm a Liberan, but I'm Cancer ascendant. Most of my charts Cancer, Venus, House, Scorpio, and the same cards have come through. Now, what is working, and this is an oxymoron, is seeing who is manipulating us and who isn't. Smelling the shite. Okay, smelling it, knowing it. Oh God, he's interesting. Knowing who is and who isn't higher frequency. Seeing through the BS. That's what's working for us now, because we've reached that enlightened state. So if you've got a hunch and you're like, something smells like a rat, I've been down a rabbit hole, I know what that looks like. You know, and you do, you know, when you've really reached that point, especially when your TF's really trained you, you can smell a rat, okay? That's the benefit. You think you don't walk out of this journey, hi, Michelle, with anything? You do, because you pick the frequency up and they're experiencing it now. So what is working is give that situation space to topple down. See, let the rats come forward. Let them come forward. And they're going to hurt themselves. It's like, and it's interesting because the communication directly connected to others involved is, I'm going to be harsh with you. No BS with me. I might look like a perfect frequency person, but there's plenty of room. I'll give you some room. But you're embarrassing yourself. Okay? Because if they are operating from that frequency, you're giving them room to show themselves. You're going, fine, come forward. I see you. I see you. Do what you need to do. You can't manipulate me. I told my twin, I'll live in a tent with you, whatever. Okay, what isn't working with other people externally is no way. You want to talk about totems? You can't make this shit up. There's a bee in here. Okay, I'll be quick. What isn't working is the fact that they're operating from a place of ego. And unfortunately, they don't know. So compassionately speaking, you're looking at it going, look, I'm giving you leeway here because you don't even know from what channel you're operating from. You're being manipulative because you are not owning your power. You're not doing what you need to do to actually own your side of the fence. You're not taking accountability and you're operating from ego, which is embarrassing yourself. And you see the truth. TF sees the truth. Let it happen. Just sit back. Let it happen. Let it be. External influences. This come up in my reading too, and my TFs. Gossip. People be talking about you. You need to accept that in the TF journey, okay? People be talking crap about you, okay? They're always going to talk. There's always talk because, oh, I can't believe they did this. Oh, do you think it's going to work this time? Do you think it's going to last? He's not anymore. He knows when I know he's BS. Twin has really changed a lot. But look, I never find that anything in my TF journey, when you get to the other side, when you come further away and you actually do the healing, you actually totally understand why situations have happened. And 9 times out of 10, it was because they were not vibrationally ready to believe in their self-worth. So because they valued you so much, they would push you away or end up with someone else to actually get to the point where They were saving you. It was self-sacrifice. It looked like lower frequency. But really what they were doing was, gee, you know, I'm in the thick of it and I'm not worthy of you. So I need to hurt you enough to make you go. So when you looked at that, it's not, but it's helped me see other people and the way in which they're operating, which is manipulation and operating from the pain body experience. Right. So, by the way, B totem's love, just in case you didn't know. So when you do see that, you're sort of like, wow, okay, I know why this is happening. So you can directly detach from the experience of jealousy, hurt, pain, because it's not about you. It's actually about them doing the work and you doing the work, and both of you not feeling safe enough because other people potentially have hurt you to be open. Yes, Ellie, but with a mirror. Then, yeah, no. Twin flame journey is different. Twin flame journey is different. As we heal, we detach, and we will look at the perspective differently. But it takes time. We can't channel that healing time. It comes down to us when our hearts are ready to open, when we can look at it very differently, and you do see it from a different perspective each time, to a point where you realize any person that you end up with could do the same. And so I wouldn't say it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. I would say it's who do you love? Because really that's all it comes down to. What are you willing to do? What would you do for love? Because love is very separate to a person letting you down. That has nothing to do with it. Love is love, separate. Not money, not conditioning, not marriage. That's what the TF journey is. So the detachment is you realize that if you can complete yourself on many levels and find that happiness and know that self-worth, that they, in tune, do find that within themselves as well. And you are getting a new person. You're not getting that same person because you both have done the work. Now, by MZ Journey, look after yourself. Okay, in love. The love domain for them. They have faith in this situation, okay? They've got faith in you. They've got faith in the situation. One or the other, and this can be both of you. I feel this is directly the both energies. You're being private, but you're having faith in the connection, okay? Overall, wow. Okay, the message I'm getting is these cards that I'm going to show you are directly connected to the past due to the fact that Mercury is retrograde. And some of these things are going to come up, right? Where any person was manipulating you at a financial level, where any person had been selfish, self-centered, or there was a lack of balance, this is going to come up. Where people perhaps currently and past tense, they're going to show their faces, the ones that ousted you out. They're going to show. Where people were vengeful towards you, it's all coming out. It's all coming forward. Where there were addictions and codependency, and the people in those groups, they're going to show their true colours, all coming out. But at the same time, it's getting to the point where it's going backwards for us to assess that so that we can leave it behind and move forward. Does that make sense? Interesting. Responsibility. Inner child in reverse. Number one, it's hard to have the playful energy right now. But what I'm getting is responsibility upright. We probably can't be as playful right now for the physical fact that we're trying to move a ship forward. But in knowing what we do want and owning that, we're taking accountability on our side of the fence. We shift the frequency. So stand in your truth. Say, okay, I know what I need to do. I know that any challenge that comes towards me, I will directly handle at that point. You can't not base it on the past, I'll be honest with you, but you do communicate it from a different level. The past is part of your life, but it doesn't define you. It's a story, but it's not the ending. It's the ending in a sense of the past, but it's a new beginning when you choose to let it go. Okay? So it's not that we ever get to that state where we don't remember those things. We do. But with the pain body experience within the ego, which is potentially the external people around you, how they're operating right now, you will understand why they're there. Because we know that when we're having a trigger point and we're actually correlating it with something that's happened in our journey, what happens is we go, oh, crap, is this crap going to happen again? And then we're like calming our energy down, going, okay, now what did I learn from that time? How can I approach this in a different fashion? And how can I move forward? Do I need to directly communicate in an assertive fashion and say, this does not feel correct for me and I know where I stand? Or do you need to come to a place where you say, okay, have I got me in check? Am I okay? How can I operate at a different level? But you're taking accountability. And that's the responsibility is to self. You know, we do tend to think, oh my God, we're going to get in the TF journey and it's going to be all like a traditional relationship. You're not traditional. I hate to break it to you. What breaks you down is the TF journey. You are no longer traditional. You're enlightened because you've learned many lessons and you've been to hell and back, but you're no longer a traditional person, so it would never work. You couldn't go back to that. Your inner child work has been done. If you go back there, it's to get to a point where you realise that you've moved, you've shifted, you've grown, you've expanded. You can get into a playful energy. So if you do feel it's coming up, which I feel last week, yes, in child work was coming up. But I feel now there's a time where it can be also externally. Karmics for the children, it's problematic at the moment. It's something that needs solving. But divine masculine, divine feminine, whatever side of the fence it's on, if this part is relevant to you, is taking accountability and responsibility to do what's right. So it's lagging a bit, but it's because all the cards need to fall correctly. Any questions as I pack up and get ready for bed? I am feeling the 20th with astrology is going to be very unique. We do have the moon shifting signs. It's a different energy coming through. I'll do an update again. Obviously, anytime I'm guided to, I will be doing regular sessions live. I will try and look at the aspects again tomorrow. But directly after, yeah, panic attacks have been quite prominent at the moment. But at the same time, what I was visually seeing, and I thought, God, I've got to do some research on this. It's almost like it's not the eye of the storm. It's in the storm and staying grounded. Detach from the communication, Madonna, because that's what's triggering it. To work on your blocks, you probably need to do a private booking or, you know, an overall, so I could tune into it and help you understand where you can shift that energy. Oh, have you not seen it, Shelley? I mean, she was doing it this morning where we were talking on Messenger. I think I had probably 5 flare-ups today, and then it come down to a point I had some meditation, which is really quite hard at the moment. You know, it's really quite hard at the moment if you only knew. And through that, it was like healthy boundaries. And that's the cards coming through for twins. And it doesn't have to be directly connected to each other. It's people around you as well. Seeing the BS, going, hey, healthy boundaries. This is what needs to happen. Effective communication. I grasp and I understand where you're coming from. But this is BS. Like, stop. Yeah. So it's it can be noise sensitivity at the moment. Oh, look, it got worse during the, I'll explain later. I was like, seriously? There was music going on. There was people coming in and out. There was put on Facebook that I was flat out and then everyone wanted to come over. It's like, seriously, I have a business to run. I'm doing my best. So I've had to reschedule, not reschedule, I've had to rejig my time zone and my slots, rather. I missed that. Yeah, just a lot of trigger points, a lot of people testing you, trying to stay grounded. And I was really seeing, I'm glad, I was really seeing that for a lot of us, what is going on is that, how do I put it? I was seeing, and it's a bit like the monks or the Asians when they're training, right? Coming to that inner calm point where there can be absolute sheer chaos around you and you're on your own. Really to attain that place where you can get there is almost required at this point during Mercury retrograde. And during this month, I feel, there's a whole lot more connected to the astrology. But again, it's been so difficult to actually find 5. That's why I've had to change my time slots. I've had to allocate time effectively so I can do the recordings, so I can do my emails and my paperwork, my exercise, have time for family, have time for exercise. It's literally been a whole year of working back to back, and there needs to be, and that's what the Mercury retrograde is really beneficial for, is okay, what is working, what's not? How can you incorporate this so you can physically move forward and you can create that balance? I had said that last year, but again, you need to shift. You energetically need to shift. You could have had your union potentially in 24 hours, right? It's a shift energetically, but while you're focused on the pain body experience within the union and you're really, really looking at what they did wrong by you, no, it will come back, but it will be reunion, it won't be union. So unless you can actually do that really heavy work and you can get to a point where you can go, okay, this is exhausting me even thinking about it, it comes back, but it's more to help you break that down, and but you'll still be moving forward. You're never moving backwards. You're thinking you are, you're never moving backwards, but it can delay the beauty of the end result. So the quicker you can do that, and it comes about naturally, as well as you actually accepting the fact that there's something you need to look at. Yeah, just really being in your truth at all times and moving forward, and try not to put a time frame on it. When we do put a time frame on things, we get disappointed. Release it. You need to come to a place where you're okay regardless of whatever happens, and that takes a lot of work to get there. But if you do find the beauty in your own energy of going, hey, I want to be happy. I don't want to be bloody miserable anymore. A lot of masculines have massively changed. Even if you're not seeing them, even if you're not communicating, there has been an energetic shift. Okay? It's bloody hot in Australia. I do feel we're going to have a storm, potentially 107 Fahrenheit. More weather this week, but my sinuses have been playing up, which usually means a storm. Yeah, good old Australia. It's normal for us, though. We're used to it. Yeah. It's strange because a client mentioned to me years ago when I worked in community, had I noticed that the flora and fauna had started coming out with some of the gum tree and the natives. And it has changed over the last 3 years. Some of the flowers that were coming up on the gum trees, never seen before in my lifetime. So the environment as per se is definitely changing. Then don't own it, Maureen. allow them to energetically shift. Yeah, I think we have a cyclonic activity coming up, which potentially is Queensland. I'm feeling the energy of a volcano as well, and I know potentially I'm feeling New Zealand. We'll see. And an earthquake. As you step forward, they move forward. Move towards them. It triggers them, they move back. Step back, they move forward. But don't feel you've got to latch. Let it flow. Be truthful, let it flow. Any other questions while I'm here? There you go. I'm seeing there the burning ring of fire, and I had a download probably about 3 years ago. I kept hearing the song by Johnny Cash, Burning Ring of Fire, and then a lot of the channelings I've had, I realised that there's burning ring of fire on a plate. That potentially I was seeing like a shift there. Yes, shoot away. That's okay, Heidi. I hope you're well. You'll probably find the energy from the 5th it started, but we had the shadow aspect last month. So it had already started last month, but it moves through to a little bit through in April. So you'll get the shadow effect, the after effect in April still. It's Mercury retrograde happens quite regularly. It's the fact that astrologically speaking, the camera's kind of like paused. Astrologically speaking, moving into the age of Aquarius, it's changed everything. So the frequency is different, but we do have regular intervals of Mercury retrograde. It's nothing unique. It's the other aspects where energetically the other planets are direct. You know, once it goes direct, almost all of them are direct. It's the first time in centuries. Yeah, and do pace yourself. If you energetically do need to rest, really listen to your body. You're going to want to get a lot done. There is the potential to get a lot done, but you need to schedule it. Schedule it. Do the 5-minute task regime, which I've always said to you guys, okay, what can I finish right now? Let me not leave it for later. Keep on top of tasks. You will feel fatigued. Rest if you need to. Drink plenty of fluid. You're more likely to, through that fatigue and downloads, actually get more dehydrated. Okay, well, I will come back later. I'm also going to put a post up in the community tab to tell you when I'm going to do the live sessions. I'm hoping everything flows correctly, but everything will be back to normal potentially by April. With the videos being pre-recorded and done, yes, I'll still do more live sessions. If you are needing a booking, you can go to the link. And again, if you are finding, that's okay, Andrew. If you are finding that you want a booking on a different time, just inbox me. But hopefully everything should get to balance very soon. And I'll do another update shortly about the twin flame journey. And we'll keep this going. Most welcome. Please click the like button, because unless the likes are there, the channel doesn't grow. If the channel doesn't grow, I've got to go back to work. So, plus if there's something you feel that's really relevant that will help another TF, it's beneficial to put the thumbs up and chuck a comment there, because they're not going to look at the video if it's not found. Analytics with YouTube is if you're not doing those things, then the videos do not simply get shared. Sounds good. We will talk soon. Most welcome, everyone. Look after yourselves. If I get any downloads, I will come to you again. Have a wonderful day as well, guys. Don't work too hard for those of you that are working. And yes, movement is happening with work. So if you're getting blocked and you're thinking, oh, God, you know, what's happening? we're just looking at things differently. It's a temporary pause. There is the slingshot effect moving forward. Mid-year, get everything done that you can. There will be a pause at the end of the year again as we go retrograde. But again, we are moving into the following, which is the big whammy. So we'll get into that a bit later. Love and light. And if I see you on the other side for a booking, I'll see you then. Otherwise, if you're wanting tickets for Facebook, running out of time. I'm doing it on the 11th for the questions.